Hi, everyone, welcome. It is awesome to see all of you. And just so you know, there are a handful of spots left. So if you have friends that didn't sign up, please send them to the website. Maybe you can get that in there. And even if we get past the 1,000, which we most likely will, people can still do the online course for free. They just don't get the box in the mail. I hope you guys got your box. And if you haven't received your box, I promise it's coming. The mail, we work with an amazing company, Mailboxes of Iowa City, and I think they send them out in shifts. So if you haven't received your beautiful bracelet and your journal, I promise it's coming. Deb got hers today. That's awesome. It's really fun to get these boxes in the mail. And not only do we love gifts, but mostly it's because I really like people having like a talisman, a memory, something to wear, something to remember, something to hold, to recreate or help you remember some of the things that you learned in this. So that's why we do it. All right, we are going to just start because we've got a lot to do tonight. This is class 1 of Tend Her 3.0. Theme this year is resilience. And I have some lovely slides that I'm going to share with you this evening. And first things first, this always seems awkward for me to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because some of you may not have any clue who I am. You might have been turned to this program by a friend. You have no idea what to expect. So I think it's just always good to do an introduction in the beginning. I always say these are some of the roles that I play, but it's not really who I am. Hopefully, some of my essence and who I am will come out in some of this teaching. But there are the websites at the bottom where you can find out more information about my work. And I'm just really grateful that all of you are curious in your own evolution. I feel like that's really you might call it my dharma. One of my purposes in life is to really teach in a very deep way that has the power to bring transformation into people's lives. So I appreciate all of you, and I can feel you all here with me. So thank you for that. Now, I do want to put a big shout out to the Mental Health Disability Services of the East Central region of the state of Iowa. This is the third year in a row that I have been lucky enough to receive a nice grant that has allowed the birthing and the continuation of this Tend Her program. So a big shout out to May Hintgen because she has long believed in this work. She continues to support this work. And over the 3 years that we've been doing these Tend Her programs, I've heard from so many women about how something came through in these programs, something shifted them. I know too, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, that there's been actually lots of friendships that have been born out of Tend Her as well. And so really grateful to you, May, and all of your staff for truly making this possible. So thank you. I have a couple more thank yous. This is the Tend Her crew. And you're going to meet them all at the end of tonight. They're actually going to come into the office at the end of this hour. So they are all involved in the second part. We have a new part to our program this year, which is an in-person event. And so we're going to tell you more about that in a bit. And they're all going to come share. So we have Andrea Wilson, Monica Bazile, Fanny Hungerford, Kate Moreland. And then I also want to do a special shout out to one of my dear assistants, Kimberly, who answers all the emails, helps you when you can't get logged in, helped arrange all the boxes to be sent in. I could not do this without you, so I'm so grateful to you. So hopefully you got this in the mail. If you didn't, send us an email, info@heartlandyoga.com, and we will figure it out. Sometimes people get the wrong address in there. So, all right, let's take a breath together and just allow ourselves to really land now in the teachings. sort of land in the potential shift that can happen in as short as an hour. So we only have 4 classes together in the next 4 weeks. And I do know the power of this work and the power of these practices. I've been practicing and teaching this for several decades now. And so know that there's a specific reason you're here tonight. I really, truly believe there's something in the next 4 weeks that's going to speak deeply to you. It's going to make you think differently about yourself, about your own resilience, about decisions you may have to make. So I want you all just to trust that there's a reason you showed up tonight. There's a reason you signed up for this course. And I just really support you in the courage that it takes to also work with all that we're going to do in these next 4 weeks together. So let's land for a moment. So if you are in a place where you can close your eyes, just allow your eyes to gently close. And we're just going to open this tender circle, a circle of women, a circle of women who on some level are desiring a shift, a deeper connection to self and inner knowing, maybe stepping more into your own light and your own potential, clarity, ease. But you wouldn't have shown up tonight or even been drawn to this program if there wasn't a part of you that was seeking your own evolution, was seeking some new direction of growth. So as we embark on this journey together, I encourage you to feel your feet on the ground. Take a moment to bring any energy that is anxious or fearful or distanced or distracted. Bring your attention all the way in and down. So I'm going to say that again because it's really powerful. Bring your awareness in and down. Get your attention deeper down, down into the pelvis, down into the legs, all the way down, perhaps to the feet. Feel the earth beneath you. And then place one hand on your heart and maybe place the other hand on top. At the very outset of this time together, I want to just plant the seed that what you're seeking is already in you. The answers you desire, the clarity, the resilience, it's already there. We don't have to find it. We don't have to search for it. It's there. We may have to uncover it. We may have to reclaim it. We may have to see it, but I promise you it's there. Take a nice deep breath in, maybe bring the palms together now and just take a moment of reverence as you bow towards yourself. Again, honoring this part of you that is carving out the time, it's carving out the effort to show up for yourself in this way. All right. Thank you for that. Helps me just as much, hopefully, as it helps you. So thank you for helping me open the circle. In a moment, we're going to set a couple ground rules for this circle. But the first thing that I want to bring to the surface, I don't beat around the bush, and I am not a teacher who likes to stay at the surface. If any of you have studied with me know we usually go deep pretty quickly. So we're going to go there already. And the thing I want you to all know is that as we start to work in these 4 weeks together in a group, and group work is really powerful, even if you never meet any of the 1,000 women in this program, being in a circle of people doing this kind of work together is has the potential to really jet you forward very quickly. So just the energy and the amount of people doing this work together is helpful for all of us. But I want you to all know that at some point in these 4 weeks, and I hope you do stay with these 4 weeks, not for me, but for you, is you are going to meet resistance. So without a doubt, might already be happening. You are going to bump into your own resistance. And resistance often comes across as if it's our own voice. Like, I don't have the time for this. I already know all of this. I don't like what she was wearing. I would rather go do this. I've got dinner to make. I've got kids to tend to. So all of us are going to find resistance. We might find it in our body. We might find emotional resistance. There's an amazing conversation between Oprah and an author named Steven Pressfield. Steven Pressfield is the author of a book called The War of Art. It's a book about creativity and bringing your own creative forces forward. And Steven Pressfield believes that anytime we're on the precipice of growth, of change, of transformation, of evolution, resistance always comes. Steven Pressfield also believes resistance is not us. It's sort of like a universal law that when you're at a point where you are ready to make some positive shift in your life, resistance is going to come in. It's going to convince you, I don't need this. I've got other things to do. So please know that. And when it comes, be sort of excited about it, because it might just be a sign and a signal to you that there's really something here for me to sink into, to learn from, to grow through, to understand, to know. But it's going to show up, I promise you. Sean, I'm going to have you put in the chat box that Oprah, I encourage you to listen to the Soul Sunday with Steven Pressfield and Oprah. It's quite powerful. So not only is this course about resilience, but essentially what it is it's about freedom. It's about freeing yourself. It's also about allowing yourself to be who you are, which means shining brighter, standing taller, being bigger, having more courage, putting yourself out there in a bigger way. We all, according to Carl Jung, who's one of my true teachers, he was a psychologist, psychiatrist in the early 1900s. I quote him all the time if you ever have worked with me in the past. But one of his famous quotes is that we all walk in shoes that are too small for us. What he means by this is that we all play it too small in our lives. And he also said that if we resist this call to actually step into shoes that fit us or our size, or shoes that we can grow into, we will have to forever deal with the grief of having given up on a truly authentic and centered life. So that's a really powerful thing. So even you might already be tuning in. Am I playing it small? Am I holding back? Am I making excuses for myself? Am I sabotaging myself? These are some of the things I want you to start to feel into and maybe acknowledge. We all do it. We all do it. So believe me, you're not alone in any of this. So as we start this journey, we opened our circle together. I want to set a couple ground rules. And well, let's start here. Here's just some nuts and bolts. Classes every Monday night, next 4 weeks. You're going to get soul work at the end of every class. That's what you have your journal for. I encourage you to do it, spend some time with it. Midweek, sometime on Wednesday, you'll get an email from me with a new video. So I'm going to be giving you 4 bonus sort of hypnosis meditation sessions. So I'm also trained as a hypnotherapist, and I believe that that's where we really shift the subconscious mind. So you're going to get a recording each week that you can listen to that's going to line up with the content we've done on Monday. You're also going to get a link for online yoga with me Saturdays at 9. And then there's a Facebook group as well. There's a Steven Pressfield idea. Okay, so here's our ground rules. these aren't mine. I didn't write them. They come from the book, The Four Agreements, which is a well-known book. I'm sure many of you have read it. I use this. In fact, I give a copy of this to anyone who goes on retreat with me. I've taught many, many retreats over the years. And I just actually taught one in Ireland. And one of the women at the end of the week says to me, what was most powerful to me was that first night when we went through the Four Agreements. So I'm sharing them again here. What I find when we all agree, even if it's just an energetic agreement, to follow these four agreements, we create inherent safety, we create really good boundaries, and we create space for us to actually show up as our best self, not to show up as our catty self, our judgmental self, our critical self, but to show up as our best self. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I want to say them out loud. And then you might at the end raise your hand with me and say, yeah, I'm going to agree to this whenever I'm in this tender space. First agreement, be impeccable with your word. So this means that not only am I going to speak with integrity and truth as I teach, but when you type in that chat box, or if you reach out to us on the Facebook group, that you are coming from a place of integrity and truth, whatever that means for you. Second agreement, don't take anything personally. This is my favorite, and it's also the hardest one for me. It's one that I think I will continue to work with for the rest of my life. So the gist of this one, and I think you'll relate to this as well, that anything that anyone says or does has nothing to do with us. So when we can reach a place in our life where we're more immune to the opinions and actions of others, we no longer fall into victim consciousness, which in my eyes, victim consciousness is sort of the opposite of the resilient hero, right? Not that we don't all have moments in life where we're victimized, but when we get stuck in, taking things personally, feeling victimized, blaming others for where we are, there's a lot of suffering that comes with it. So number 2, don't take things personally. Number 3, don't make assumptions. This is courage to express what you need to, ask questions, communicate clearly. So these 4 agreements are not only for here, they might really apply to your life as well. And then last but not least, always do your best. Our best changes moment to moment, but in the context of this course, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to show up. Do your best. Listen to the teachings. Do some of the journaling. See what comes through for you, right? Too often as women, we are so prone to give our energy and our time and our efforts away to other people in our lives. It's so rare for us to really engage and listen and know thyself and go inward and nourish our internal space. And that's really hopefully what I'm setting up for all of us to do in this next month. So if you feel so led, you can just raise one hand, and maybe just for yourself, one hand on your heart, say, yeah, I'm going to try to work with these 4 agreements, not only maybe in the tender space, but maybe just in the next 4 weeks, I'm going to do this. I'm going to really see if I can be more honest, not take things personally, not make assumptions, and really step up and be in my full light, be in my full power, do my best. Thank you for raising your hand. All right. I'm going to exit out here just for a moment. Come back to see all of you. So let's talk about why we need resilience more than ever. I feel like it's sort of a given. Our world is pretty chaotic. It is crazy. There are clearly a lot of trauma and war going on around the planet. Our planet is getting warmer. It's moving faster. Do you guys feel this? It just feels like things are moving faster. It feels like we're kind of on a constant roller coaster of just constant inundation of data, of information. There are more toxins than ever, so our collective health is definitely deteriorating. And at least for me, often feels like stress is never ending. So it's interesting, our bodies originally weren't wired to sort of be in constant stress mode, and yet it sort of is that way. And what I'll find is that I'll move into a space maybe in the evenings where I move more into that rest and digest place. And then this buzzes, right? This buzzes, and suddenly I'm pulled out of that deeper space where I could actually just rest and be clear. We're very addicted to these, aren't we? Unfortunately. And the cost to all of this is clearly our health, our happiness, and I believe our sanity as well. 90% of visits now to physicians are all stress related. So we know stress is giving us illness, harming our organs, and clearly it's not been good for our mental health. And I am sorry, my dear female friends, but we are sicker than our male counterparts as well. In the new book by Gabor Mate, it's called The Myth of Normal. I highly recommend it. This physician talks about how we women have become society's shock absorbers. Do any of you feel like you are a shock absorber in maybe your family, in your workplace? I definitely feel this, or have felt this for sure. And because we are the shock absorbers, meaning we sort of take on the emotional energy of the house, or we try to soothe the, stress of our children, our spouse, our partner, we are harming ourselves physically and emotionally. We are all, as women, at higher risk for chronic disease. We definitely have it worse. We're suffering more from chronic pain, from migraines, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, autoimmune conditions. I'm one of those autoimmune condition people. We have a higher risk for non-smoking related cancers and malignancies. We have double the incidence for depression, for anxiety, for PTSD. So we are definitely feeling much more intensely the mental health crisis that we're in than our male counterparts. Why is this? I mean, I'm a sort of scientist at heart, always reading, always trying to digest, always trying to figure things out in my mind. And this is a question I've asked myself. What is it about women that we, even though we tend to live longer, we tend to have more what seems to be pain and suffering? And certainly one of the things we can sort of maybe come up with as to why we suffer more is we're living in a patriarchal system. And, patriarchy is not good for anyone. It's not helping men either. But certainly for women, we live in a culture that doesn't always honor us and often sort of puts us down, demeans us, and definitely can encourage us to suppress who we are, hide who we are. Which is why I believe we do need to start to tell our stories. We do need to speak up more. We do need to express ourselves. So hopefully there's going to be some opportunity for that. So my question for you is, do you make daily visits to yourself? This is a quote by Rumi. Do you make daily visits to yourself? Do you? Some days? Occasionally, right? So, and what is a daily visit to ourself? What does that mean? It could mean a million different things, but do you spend conscious, settled, compassionate time with yourself? Whether it's through journaling, whether it's through meditation. Again, I'm hoping to provide ideas and opportunities for you to do more of that in the next 4 weeks. And then what happens if you're spending more daily time with yourself? What do you notice? What shifts for you? Maybe what improves for you? But it does have to change for us to become more resilient. And we all need more resilience. We have to, living in the toxic culture we're living in. We all need it. But what is it going to take for us to develop more resilience? Well, I really believe instead of our energy and our attention and our awareness going out, focusing on the world and the politics and the kids and the spouse and the work and, the must do and the shoulds, we are losing this. And so for us to be resilient and to be able to really flow and manage whatever's going to come our way in this lifetime, we have to make this commitment to go in, to go in, to go in, to go in, to make a daily visit to yourself. It's hard. And again, we often feel like we don't have the time or the energy, but to really not only survive, but I believe thrive, we have to be so committed to know thyself. And we're going to talk more about that in a moment. So I want to start first. So what I did when I decided I was going to teach on resilience is I essentially read, let's stop here. I essentially read everything I could get my hands on, which is sort of what I do. My mom, who's on this call, could attest to that. Like I would study my spelling list 100 times and go back and say, I need to do it again, Mom. So I read lots of scientific articles. I read lots of popular press books. I really wanted to get a good handle on what is resilience, because there's not just one definition or one understanding of it. There's lots of ways to spin it. So what you'll see now in these next two slides is sort of my own sort of sifting through all of the data, all the information, and what I took away from it. So it's coming from me. It's my opinion. It's not necessarily right. You might not agree with it, but I think that this is coming off of all of that study. This is sort of what I came up with. So first of all, I think it's really important for us to note that there is sort of a false resilience. And I would say most of us, this is what I thought resilience was before I really studied all of this. And then there's an authentic resilience. And we want to really get to the authentic resilience, but it's a must that we see how we've fallen into these traps of what I would call sort of fake resilience. So resilience is not first and foremost stoicism. So I think our whole culture has seen resilience as, wow, they picked themselves up by the bootstraps. They got through that hardship so smoothly. They just held it all together. And I can say that in my 20s, this is how I did it. I remember there was a long period in my 20s where I could not cry. I couldn't cry at movies. I couldn't cry in situations where it was very appropriate to show emotion and tears. I was holding so much of my stuff together. I was trying to, appear as if I had it all together. So stoicism and holding it all together works in the short run, but what it does to you in the long run is it doesn't allow for any vulnerability. It doesn't allow for you actually feeling your life, and also totally weakens your capacity to connect with other people. Right? Like if you're not able to feel and be in your heart, you can't connect in an authentic way with other people. So resilience is much more than suck it up and get over it. And I think that's what many of us were taught in our culture and maybe our families is just like, get over it, buttercup, keep going. Right? But that is not true resilience. That's sort of a fake form of resilience in my mind. I also believe resilience is not gratuitous positivity. Now, I also have fallen into this one. So there's a reason I'm probably teaching this, because I relate to so much of this. So often when a challenge comes, the other thing we do is we try to immediately find the good in it, come up with the positive quotes about it, envision the thing turning out the way we want it, pretend it's not that bad. Oh, it's not that bad. Make excuses for it instead of let ourselves feel the depth of what of emotion is there, whether it's anger, sadness, fear. So we put on these rose-colored glasses, and I think as women, we're very much taught to do this, to look for the good, to pretend it's not that bad, look the other way. And so those, again, in the short run, those rose-colored glasses make everything look pretty, but it's not realistic. And what it takes away from us over the long term, and this is so important, so take this in, it takes away self-trust. So if we tell ourselves for years, for decades, that, oh, it's not that bad. I'm looking for the good. It's actually okay. There's lots of stuff that's good about this. We start to erode a sense of trust in ourselves, because your body, your nervous system knows when it's not good. Your nervous system knows when there's fear there, when there's anger there, when there's sadness there that you're not willing to feel. And so what happens over the long term, if you stay in gratuitous positivity, as I'm calling it, you suddenly don't trust yourself, or you don't trust yourself in the deep way that you could to be truly resilient. Now, resilience is also not bouncing back. So many of the definitions of resilience include the term bouncing back in their definition. And after a while, it kind of started to drive me a little crazy. Because whenever something challenging comes, which is what, by the way, builds resilience, we're not supposed to bounce back. Something challenging happened. We're supposed to bounce forward. We're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to change. We're supposed to morph. We're supposed to grow. And if we go back to what was, that is almost like I'd even call it somewhat of a survival mode trauma response, right? And it prevents us from ever actually stepping into our fullest potential. So we don't want to bounce back. We want to bounce forward into whatever is coming because of the challenge that just came across our path. And then last but not least, resilience is not really an inborn trait. So that's good news for all of us. I mean, there's a bunch of studies on personality characteristics, but there's no resilience gene per se. And what we do know is that all of us can strengthen and build resilience. And I believe all of us need to strengthen and build resilience. So what is resilience? Again, these are sort of my definitions, so take them all with a grain of salt. I think that at least what I found in my own life through many challenges that I should have put on that first slide of who I am, that I also have a messy, complicated life, right? There's nothing perfect or easy about my life. There's been many, many challenges. So when I think about how I have traversed many of the hard things that have come my way, what I realize is that what helps me traverse it, and I'm still constantly growing this, is this steady, stable core. I'm pointing here to my heart because for me, it feels like it lives in my heart. For some of you, it might feel like it lives a little lower in your solar plexus, maybe all the way down into your pelvis. But it's this thing that we can draw into. It's this sense of it's going to be okay. And when we find, and by the way, you all have it. You all have a steady core. You might feel very distanced from it, but I promise you it's there. When we can drop into this steady core, then the winds of change can go crazy around us. And we're still okay. We're still, we know that we are centered and stable. I also believe resilience is when we learn, and I'm going to say learn because I don't think this is necessarily something we're, again, born with. We learn how to keep our own energy. So many of us, and oh my gosh, I am so much in this camp, give our energy away. We let other people suck it away from us. We freely give it to people, and then we wonder why we're exhausted and suffering from autoimmune conditions and, tired all the time. So resilience is learning you are worthy of keeping your own energy, that in fact, you're supposed to keep your own energy. Resilience is also feeling all of it. It's feeling the highs, it's feeling the lows, it's feeling the darkness, it's feeling the sadness, it's feeling all of it, not just the good stuff, but the hard stuff too. And it's a willingness to let life really start to grow you. But this means we have to do this. We have to feel it all. So in this class, we're going to be talking about this tension of opposites that happens for the resilient person. I really think the resilient person is an authentic person who is willing to live in the opposites. They're willing to say, I'm both really sad about this in my life and I have joy about this. Are willing to say, I can see that these are things I'm really struggling with and need to work on, but I'm really good at these things. So it's being able to sort of live between these different, what feel at times like oppositions in our life. All right, how do we do this? How do we do this? How are we doing this in 4 weeks? Well, we're going to start a process, and then my hope is that you continue the process. And many of you are already doing this. We're just going to hopefully take it a notch deeper. How do we get there? We have to know thyself, feel thyself, and show thyself. So this is the oracle at Delphi in Greece, 1400 BC. That little plate at the bottom, Greek, says know thyself. So humans for a very, very, very long time have known the importance of this. And again, I think it's harder in our day and age because there's so much external stimulation, which is why we have to commit to the practices that take us in so we can know thyself, so we can feel our emotions. And then because we know ourselves and we know who we are, we actually show ourselves. We let ourselves be seen. We let our light shine out. We let our unique talents serve the world. We don't hide away. We actually put ourselves out there, which, yeah, I know it's scary and it takes a lot of courage. And I think it's what we're all meant to do. So, couple quick questions, and then we're going to dive into a couple practices, and then I'm going to bring in the Tender team for all of you to meet. Man, time goes fast. So how is your resilience? There are many psychological measures of resilience, and if you're curious about those and you want to take them, Sean's going to drop that in the chat box. There's a positive psychology site that's got like 7 or 8 sort of empirically validated resilience tests that you could take. So if you're really curious about it, go for it. But these are some of the questions that I've sort of pulled out from looking at these different measures and sort of, again, studying resilience for you to just kind of do a quick check-in. And then you may choose to go a little bit deeper with this. So my first question for you is, how was your first decade of life? This is so important. Research shows that in our first 7 to 10 years of life, we're mostly in something called theta and alpha brain waves, which is essentially the same sort of brain state we're in when we're in deep meditation or we're in hypnosis, which essentially means in that first decade of life, we are so suggestible. Everything that comes our way, every conversation, every energy, every situation, every stressor, every trauma makes a big impact in setting up our unconscious mind, which is essentially what rules 95% of our decisions, choices, behaviors, interactions. It's kind of wild. So it's important for us to really acknowledge what happened. You know, did I receive what I needed? Were there things that were missing? Did I have love and care? Did I have a parent that was ill? Did I have family members suffering from mental health problems? Was there alcoholism in my home? These are all impacting your sort of development, your brain development. And they do sort of play out throughout your life. We're going to get more into this as we go, but this is a first question for you to really consider. Not as a victim, not as like, oh man, it was horrible. It might have been really horrible. I don't want to, discount any of that, but just to know thyself, we actually have to actually know what we've been through, acknowledge it, not stay in it per se, not suffer in it as a victim for the rest of our life, but know so we can get empowered and move forward. So first question, how was that first decade? Number 2, have you experienced trauma in your life? And I wish I didn't have to say this, but 70% of us have, and I'm one of them, right? So what is trauma? Trauma is anything that feels overwhelming for your system. It could certainly be sexual trauma. It could be medical trauma. It could be emotional trauma. It could be collective trauma. We just went through major collective trauma with the pandemic. So we all experienced some trauma together there. It could be repetitive trauma, meaning it was a parent who was just really absent, or it was a parent who was always irritable, and the stressor of that slowly ate away at you. It could also be what's called transgenerational trauma. It's like you inherited in your own DNA the trauma of your ancestors. And yes, this is true and this is possible. In fact, they did an amazing study on mice where they traumatized a mouse, and 10 generations later, the mouse from the traumatized mice, 10 generations later, was still showing effects from the trauma that wasn't even that mouse's trauma. It was his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents' trauma. So we know that these sort of things can carry along our DNA lines. And I don't know what happened to my great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. I don't know about you, but you might know a generation back or 2 generations back, or maybe you had, grandparents that were in the war or in the Holocaust, right? These things can still be stored in our DNA, which can come up as trauma. So I have a special interest in trauma and have done a lot of study of it. And Sean's actually going to pop a Wisdom Wednesday in there that I did on trauma. We could spend 4 weeks just talking about trauma. What I want to leave you with is, if you know you have a trauma, there is so much hope, because we can rehabilitate our nervous system. We can shift our attachment styles. We can really heal. Trauma is not an emotional, psychological problem. Trauma is stored in your body and your nervous system. And there are amazing treatments that can really help with trauma. So we don't have to get stuck in this patterning for the rest of our lives. So we're going to keep offering more information about this. Know that it's not your fault. And there is something called post-traumatic growth, meaning that if you've been through trauma, not directly after it, but often years later, people report deeper psychological and spiritual meaning in their life because of what they went through. Third thing, when you think about your own resilience, how's your stress? How you doing with that? Fourth thing, do you regularly play? This is such a good one. I have not been the best player in my life, although I'm making a conscious effort to try to do some more of it. There's this amazing research that what play does is it's working in our social emotional system. So we're usually playing with someone else, which is really good for traumatized nervous systems. And it's sort of, especially if it's an energetic thing like playing tennis or going for a run together or doing something that's physical, the heart rate goes up. Your body sort of goes into that stimulated nervous system at the same time that you're calm and you're engaged with someone else. So it can be a real healing mechanism for trauma. So play is really good. And last but not least, relationships. We're going to get into relationships in the coming weeks. But almost every review or study of resilience in the last 50 years, that's a lot. It is the quality of our close personal relationships that predict our resilience. So relationships are really, really, really key. Okay, my friends, we are going to go into some practices now. We good? All right, so I want to share 2 practices, and we're going to sort of move into a breath sort of meditation together. Then I'm going to talk about a couple other opportunities. I'm going to bring my team in. And then after that, I haven't gotten to any of your questions. So if there are questions, if there have been questions, not too many. If there are questions, I'll get to those after all of that. But let's go into some practices. This is where the real shift happens. So you're going to learn them. You'll get a handout with them so you can keep practicing, because these are quick, easy ways for us to shift our internal state. So we're going to first work with something called heart coherence. And maybe one hand on the heart or both hands on the heart. Another hand position I like is, it's called, it's the mudra of integration, Hakini mudra. So your fingertips touching, just that down in your lap. So, or do whatever you want with your hands, but we are going to start to tap into the heart. So let's close our eyes, take a nice deep breath in, and once again, see if you can feel your attention, your awareness move in and down. So as we move our awareness into that strong, stable core and down, you might start to notice maybe a little awakening or some awareness of sensation in your pelvis, or maybe all the way down to your feet. Almost all of the great wisdom traditions talk about the heart as being the center of our being. This is often where it's believed our intuition lives, our true self lives. So it's not a surprise that science is also showing that the heart is very powerful, much more powerful than we thought. And that if we can create coherence between the mind and the heart, there's this whole cascade of beautiful physical and mental changes. So allowing your attention to center in your heart. And again, it might help to have a hand on your heart. I'm going to start to deepen our breath. And on this next inhale, I'd like you to imagine that you are pulling breath in up through the bottom of the feet, traveling up the body into the heart. And as you exhale, just a nice, beautiful expansion and warmth that pervades the heart. Do this 2 more times, inhaling earth energy up through the feet, through the legs, through the pelvis, into the heart. And as you exhale, there's a nice expansion, deep awareness settled in the center of the heart. Doing this 1 more time, inhaling, it's as if you're pulling this stable, steadfast energy of the earth up through the feet into the heart. And as you exhale, there is just a growing sense of awareness, warmth, and ease in the center of the heart. Now we did 3 hearts or 3 breaths, pulling awareness up through the feet. Now on this next inhale, imagine, bring your awareness to the crown of the head. And as you inhale, you're pulling in sky energy through the crown down into the heart. As you exhale, again, there's an expansion, a warmth in the heart. Again, we inhale, pulling attention and awareness, almost as if you're pulling the energy of the sky down through the crown into your heart. As you exhale, getting more and more connected to the heart. I'm doing this 1 more time, inhaling awareness, pulling the vastness of the sky, the beauty of the sky down through the crown into the heart. And as you exhale, feeling some expansion, some awareness in the heart. Letting yourself really orient around or toward the center of the heart. And I invite you to stay here with your hands, your awareness in the heart. 3 more breaths, breathing into the heart. As you exhale, feeling a nice sense of warmth, awareness, sensation growing in the heart. Just settling our attention more and more into the heart. Area that we too often forget and neglect in the middle of our busy lives. So as you really start to establish this felt sense of your own heart, and if this feels challenging or confusing, I promise you that the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes to land attention and awareness into the heart. So as we keep our center right in the middle of our being, keeping the eyes closed, I'd like to share a story with you. And you might even use your own power of visualization to really see it. So the story goes that a man was passing elephants and he stopped because he was confused by the fact that these huge creatures were being held by only a small rope tied to their front leg. No chains, no cages. He knew these elephants could at any time break away, but for some reason they were not. So he asked the trainer that was standing nearby, why do these animals just stand here, make no attempt to get away? Well, the trainer said, When they're very young and much smaller, we use the same size rope to tie them. And at that age, it's enough to hold them. But as they grow up, they are conditioned to believe that they cannot break free. So they never try. So the question I pose to you as you stay centered in your heart: how many of you are being held back by some old, outdated belief or story? What ropes are currently tied around your leg? Allow your wise heart to give you just a little guidance about how you might be bound. Remember, knowing thyself is this capacity to own both our light, but also see how we are bound, how we are stuck. How might you be stuck? Do you know? Can you see it? We all get stuck. We all get disoriented. We all get lost. It's easy to forget the calmness and the center that we all carry, the peace that is actually ours. So if you did get a sense of how you're bound, just feel yourself move back into your heart and trust that you are the answer. And somewhere in you is this place, this steadfastness, this awakefulness that will hold, endure, be with you throughout whatever is unfolding in your life. Let's take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, bow towards yourself. All right, way to move into that heart. All right. I'm going to have Sean go get our special guest. And in the meantime, as you're all coming back, I want to show you what we've done here. So we did the heart coherent breath. Again, you'll get a handout in your Thinkific. So on your Thinkific site, you'll have all these notes. We did a little meditation to know what our chains are. On Wednesday, you're going to get this. You're going to get an audio or video hypnosis to help you sort of rewire that subconscious mind towards more resilience. The other tool I'm giving you is the capacity or the chance, the opportunity to be a part of a resilience circle. And we're going to set this up for you. So all you have to do, you'll see at the bottom here, you just have to email us, info@heartlandyoga.com. In the subject line, I want to be in a resilience circle. Now, we're going to give you guidance for how to set these up, and then we're going to give you freedom. Lovely Kimberly puts people in these groups. I have to tell you that a lot of people don't take this opportunity, but the people who do, it's been life-changing because they've told me. I've heard from multiple people that they got put in a resilience circle. They didn't know anyone, and yet these people have now become some of their closest confidants. And their lives have been blessed, changed, enhanced because of this. So I'm going to encourage you all to consider being in a resilience circle. Tool number 5 is you're going to start writing your resilience story. So I'll send these to you in an email because the slide's not going to stay up for very long, but I want you to start to write. And in the next 4 weeks, we're going to write our own resilience story. So this is your journaling, looking at your first 10 years, what you were impacted by, the ways you coped, really starting to witness and get that out. Start to put it on the page. And then last but not least, this is what my friends are here to talk about. We are doing a resilience summit. So I'm going to bring my good friend and colleague, Kate Moreland, on. Hi, Kate.
Hello, Betsy. Hello, everyone.
Let's take this. So they see this
Yeah.
beautiful space, little lights on the lane where it's going to happen and all the details. And then I'm going to take us out of so they can actually see your beautiful face. And Kate, who is a member of the Tend Her team, and she's really the one who is at the heart of putting this whole event together. I'm so grateful for her. She's going to tell you a little bit about it. Yeah. And John, can you close that door since yeah, thank you.
So hello, everyone. Good evening. So the Tend Her Resilience Summit is going to be held on November 17th from 9 to 4 p.m. at Little Lights on the Lane, which is a women-owned venue in West Branch, Iowa. It's going to be perfect for all of you who are on this call that you're seeking resilience tools, connection. It's a great opportunity to connect with each other and have some personal growth. So you're going to learn, network, and connect with like-minded individuals. The event is limited to just 150 participants, and the cost of the event is $129 for the entire day, and it's subsidized by the mental health grant. And we also have some scholarships available upon request, so reach out. There's information on that online. Tickets are going to go on sale tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So you might have to set your alarm to jump on and buy tickets. We sent the link out today, I believe, and it'll be on social media, also at dryogamama.com. And so you can find the link a lot of different places. Share it with friends, come with a friend. It's going to be really great. So we're going to start the day with a large group session, and we're going to have a live Tend Her Wild podcast recording with a special guest on resiliency. Throughout the day, there's going to be an opportunity to be in small groups, to work with the Tend Her team in a more intimate and connected way. With a small group, you'll attend 3 of the 6 sessions, and we'll have nourishing food throughout the day from a very well-known chef, Chris Grebner.
I'm so excited about that part.
I know. The food's going to be amazing.
Food's going to be really amazing.
Hungry.
Yeah.
And we'll end with a large group circle, and all guests are going to get a curated gift bag. The event's also, what I'm really excited about, it's also going to include 9 entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs and vendors that are going to showcase their businesses. So I encourage you to support these small, locally owned women business owners. You might find some wonderful gifts for yourself and for others maybe on your list at this event. So there'll be a lineup of speakers, restorative yoga, interactive workshops, and networking opportunities. And the summit is a perfect platform for women looking to invest in their own well-being and resilience. So like Betsy said, tonight you're going to meet each one of us just briefly to share what our workshop will be. Mine is going to be resiliency of the heart. So you'll have the opportunity to learn tools to reconnect with the power and the courage of your heart. We'll talk about what you desire, getting reconnected with that piece of yourself, and also just learning how to manifest those desires. So different tools around that. So I look forward to seeing many of you there. And I'm going to let Betsy share her workshop idea as well.
Yeah. So I am going to work with tools of embodiment, but mostly we're just going to have a big slumber party on the floor because we're going to be doing restorative yoga. You're going to be receiving Reiki from several Reiki practitioners. And it's just a chance to practice the art of receiving, which for many of us is really hard. But we're going to create a really lovely and inviting and safe place for people to practice receiving. That's what I'm doing.
I know.
Sounds all good. Right. So we're going to go get the rest of the lineup, and everyone is going to introduce themselves. The reason we decided to do the Resilience Summit and why we added into the grant this year is when we started Tend Her, it was in the middle of the pandemic and we couldn't get together. And especially with resilience, hi, Monica. Hey. Resilience is all about connection and creating relationships. So this is the other major helper and contributor to Tend Her. Monica has done so much with the logo and the website and the planning and the insights. And so she has so much gratitude for you. And she's a phenomenal, she's so many things that she does, but I'm going to let her talk about what you're offering at the summit.
Great.
And anything you want to share about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Betsy.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be here with you all. In terms of the summit and the workshop I'll be leading, I'm going to be leading a workshop called Tending the Light Within. And I, like many of you, draw a lot of wisdom and insight from nature. So the offering that I will be bringing is going to be grounded in the seasonal moment that we'll be finding ourselves in mid-November. So kind of on the cusp of winter and the holiday season. And so what I'll be doing is guiding you to really consult your inner wisdom about what your deep soul needs are in the winter season. And through guided meditation, we'll be exploring that together. And then I'm going to be leading an intuitive art practice to help you bring those insights to life. So that at the end of the workshop, you will have a set of images that you've created that can serve as a touchstone for you to help you to walk into the winter season with a sense of resilience and just with a sense of strength and inspiration that comes from your own deep insights about what you'll be needing at that time of year. So,
and I do have to share that Monica is the artist who made your journal. So that beautiful image of the butterfly and the flowers is done by Monica. So you all have a little piece of the powerful work that she does.
Please enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Betsy.
Yeah. All right, who's next? All my favorite people coming in. It's Fanny. All right. Hi, this is Fanny Hungerford, and she's going to tell us what she's going to be doing. Hi.
My name's Fanny Hungerford, and I am a psychotherapist and experiential facilitator in yogic arts, somatic arts, subtle arts. And the workshop I'm going to lead is essentially called Demystifying Meditation and Ritual. So my goal is to offer like a little mini course in ways we can drop into sacred practices with a little more ease and without feeling like I need an hour or I've got to go away on retreat or maybe I am not going to get it right. So can I still engage in this practice? But really discovering like, what do I need? Getting that discernment piece down and then learning just a few simple techniques that we can drop into as micro practices so we can really start to find that weaving in our day of small moments, right? Small moments of connection, small moments of remembering, and those small moments start to add up and cultivate in a little more rootedness in what we're capable of and willing to explore.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got two more. Andrea Wilson is coming next. Here she comes. Dun, 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 dun. Hello, lovely.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea. I know many of you from the last 3 years and Tend Her. It's wonderful to see you again. For those of you who don't know me, I am a narrative therapist, a social science researcher, and a writer. And I'm going to be offering a workshop that is about finding new depths in inner consciousness and our relationship with ourselves through the page. So we are going to write and we are going to establish some new routines. But most of all, we're going to go deep within our hearts and discover new parts of ourselves and create relationship.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I've got one more. And this person is not in Iowa. So Ellis, pull up your video. There she is. So Ellis was on our podcast, Tend Her Wild. She's also a writing instructor, and we loved her so much that we're like, Ellis, will you come to our event? And she said yes. So Ellis, share what you're going to offer at our event.
I am so excited to be here. First of all, I'm tickled and grateful to be a part of this awesome group of women. And I'm currently live in Juno Beach, Florida, but I lived 10 years in Iowa. So I have a lot of connections that are still there. And I am a poet as well as a ballet teacher. And I'm going to be bringing my online workshop, which is called Bewilderness Writing, to the Resilience Summit. And Bewilderness Writing is a guided free writing practice where we use poetry as a jump off. And it is a great tool to kind of untangle the giant yarn ball that is your life. It is a great way for you to get it out of your head and onto the page. I think you'll find it I find it a very nourishing and intimate practice. And I'm super excited to come and really grateful to be here.
We can't wait to have you, Ellis. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. So that's the lineup. My sad part is that I don't get to be in all of the workshops since I'm going to be helping teach parts of them. So I hope you consider coming. Again, registration starts tomorrow at 8 a.m. And I think that's it for all that I wanted to share. Next week, we're going to dive into physical resilience. The third week, we're going to work with emotional mental resilience. And our last week, we are going to work with social resilience, our capacity to be in healthy relationship with other people. So at this point is when I was going to answer question. And I just want to see, is there any questions? Sean, have you seen any questions? It's been so straightforward that you're all like, we got it, Betsy. I am going to stick around. Yeah, the workshops. That is a great question, Elizabeth. Will you shut that just in case there's people still out there? Elizabeth, we've not considered recording all of those lovely workshops, but you're giving me a great idea. So we will see what we can do. Thank you for that. We'll see what we can figure out. Yes, the email to sign up for the virtual small groups, and Catherine, way to be courageous, because I honestly think that this is the most life-changing part of a program like this, is the women's circles. It's info@heartlandyoga.com. That'll come to us here. Kimberly, who's my intuitive assistant, she sort of figures out people. She tries to put people that are in similar geographical locations, because some circles might meet online, some circles might meet in person. So she tries to put people together that might all be in the same area, but it's kind of, I think, an intuitive process for her. And again, it's been, we've received several comments from people about what a life-changing experience it was. Part of what's going in, so tonight, after tonight, you're going to have a video in your Thinkific account from tonight. You're also going to have all kinds of handouts. One is how to start a women's circle with guidance points for it, which I would highly recommend looking at when you get into these circles. You're also going to have information in there about your soul work, your writing work for the week. And then on Wednesday, you're going to get that hypnosis sort of meditation video as well. So there's lots coming. You can find it all in the Thinkific. So it's the same email and password that you would have used to sign up for the class to begin with. Kimberly is magical. I agree. Thank you for that, Kathleen. Yay, Beth, I'm so glad that you're here. Polly, I'm so glad to see you on here as well. Last thing, and if you have questions, of course, ask them. But if you, after tonight especially, are thinking like, oh, I have this friend in Washington State, and I think she really needs to work and hear some of this right now, send them the link. We can't promise that we can get the gift boxes to everyone, but this content is free for anyone around the world. And so send them our way, and we'll get them registered, because I think just being in the midst of other women, asking questions, looking at themselves, digging in deep, it's really, really powerful. Brittany, thank you for saying that. Our circle has been meeting for over a year in person, life-changing. Brittany, were you part of that circle that I met at the kombucha bar? I was sitting there having a kombucha, and someone came up to me and said, "Are you Betsy? We know you from Tend Her. We got in a group And it's been so life-changing. And your group was there listening to live music outside, and I got to meet them. Are you part of that group? She was. That's awesome. Yeah, Leslie, you were in that group too. Yeah, so you can see those small groups so why I think small groups are really powerful is because of, and this group that I met outside the kombucha bar told me they did this, is you have ground rules, right? You have a starting moment, you have an ending moment, you have a way that you go about sharing. It becomes like we create like strong sort of resilient structures so that it creates safety for people to really open up. And I remember this group I met outside this kombucha bar, they said, these people know more about me in 1 year than people I've known my whole life. And sometimes being able to be vulnerable and open up is easier with a new group than sometimes with people we've known our whole life. So it really is a beautiful opportunity. And we'd love to facilitate that for you if it's something you are interested in. Yeah, Lily, you're also, I think, in a group too. You call it sacred. I think that's very true. All right. Anything else before we sign off? Margaret, thanks for telling your friends about it. All right. You'll get follow-up emails from me. You'll probably get sick of getting all the emails from me in the coming 4 weeks. It's just to remind you of upcoming classes and to send you all the details of things that you can become involved in. So here's to more resilience. Here's to knowing thyself, feeling thyself, and then letting ourselves be seen, showing up in a much bigger, brighter way, because that's what you're here for. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lori, that's great. Do you provide suggestions for resistance when it shows up when journaling? I didn't provide that, but I can. So thank you for suggesting that, Lori. I always appreciate your suggestions. Yes, Katie, I love how much action is coming our way. Let's do this. I do think that's part of it, right? Like it's one of those 4 agreements, like do your best. Can I be all in? Can I really do this? And I know you can. I'm going to do it. I know you can. All right, everyone. Lovely to be with so many of you tonight. I'll see you next Monday night, and you'll hear from me in the meantime. All right. Mwah. Much love. I just want to stand and watch all these beautiful messages come. Ah, thanks, everyone. I'm taking it all in. Oh, Vanessa, I'm so glad that you are here. I think we all need this so much if we're truly being honest. Susan, I'm glad you made the time too. It's just going to get better from here on out too, especially when we all start to really dive in. It gets even there's a building that happens. I think you'll feel it. And it's actually a really great time. I didn't mention this, but it's such a great time of year to dive in and do this kind of work as we're going into the darkest season of the year. So it's a really powerful time to all be together, going in, knowing thyself. All right. Oh, Jody from New York. Thank you for that. Yes, Michelle, you do email info@heartlandyoga.com to get into a resilient circle. Edie, it's my pleasure to help you delve deeper. I feel like that's one of my contracts in this lifetime. Thanks, Jessica. All right, everyone. Signing off. We'll see you next week.